All right, now I'm recording. All right, cool. Yeah, it should be fairly quick as these have been. Same kind of structure to the agenda as usual. This is a reminder kind of as our orientation, our core values of transparency, safety, community, and action. Hopefully these meetings in particular reflect the transparency value, but we'll talk about some of the various aspects of these things throughout. And we'll start with just some committee updates across the group. And we can kind of share talking time on some of these. Brian, you want to talk about programming?
Yeah. So March is it's madness.
True.
In many ways and more ways than one. We scheduled the whole season, and then we're approached by Kim Alou about this idea she'd had. So we are now partnering with her and Socially Distant Improv on the March Madness of Improv, which means 2 hours every night up until the very end of March, when there's only be like 1 hour for the last couple of rounds. It's going really well. It's we're getting our brand out to lots of new teams who could potentially join us for season 3. One of whom will be filling an empty slot in season 2 for us already, so that's paid off as far as getting more people to know about us, and just also to get some of our teams out there to see and play with new people. So it's also let us tweak or see what it's like to do with Facebook Live and how that works, and different ways of getting the word out, and like I said, developing these partnerships that can pay off really well in the long run. So it's going, like I said, it's going well so far, and the Baltimore teams have been kicking ass, which is also an extra bonus. Season 3 submissions will begin next week. We had a artistic council meeting over the weekend, kind of went over some ideas. I'm going to type up some notes and share them with the people who couldn't make it. And we'll start looking at teams to come in next. The season would start early May.
Yep.
Yes, early May and run through the end of July. So it would be, again, a straight 12 weeks. I don't think we'll take off. We may take off the 4th. I haven't looked at that. But when we program, or maybe do a parade that night or something. I don't know. We'll figure that out as we see.
Fireworks.
Improvised fireworks.
Yes. But yeah, so it looks like another good straight shot, maybe Memorial Day and the 4th, where we'll take little pauses or whatever. But yeah, I'm very excited, and there's a couple really cool ideas came out of the discussion on Sunday, including maybe potentially there was an idea maybe expanding some kids stuff, finding, talking to some people who are teaching kids classes or stuff like that, if they have teams or projects they'd like to work with us on. One idea I had that kind of just came out of talking out loud is maybe do kind of mash up things where it's an 8-person team, but they're all from different theaters, to continue building those partnerships. So each month there'd be 8 people from different theaters, to just kind of, everybody could talk about their theater, just, kind of a mini everybody getting into a festival for a show. So just trying to find different ways to branch out and make more connections. Oh, and I want to add on to that, the thing I shared with you 3 today. So if you go to our YouTube page now, there is a season 2 playlist.
Oh yeah.
It has, as I'm almost 100% certain, it has every season 2 show in order from the newest to the oldest. So the top of the playlist starts with last night's shows. There may be 1 or 2 missing. I didn't think so. I haven't gone through a third time to double check, but that's kind of the plan now, to have these season playlists. And that is, when you go to our Facebook channel, or our YouTube channel, the top thing is a featured video, which right now is one of the Block Party shows. I have to rotate it out to the newer one. Yeah, for all you binging needs. But then the next thing people will see is that season 2 playlist. So that's the reason to do it that way. So when they go to our YouTube channel, the first playlist they see is the current season with the very newest shows that have been edited there. So that's kind of just a way as people get in there, um, when you just put like the latest uploads, you can't organize those. Those go in the order they're uploaded. And like when Rob Wongus and I will do them, you may start editing in the order they happened, but it depends on how long it takes to process. So they get out of order
Yeah.
that way. Yeah, so hopefully this gives a real quick look at what our most recent content is for people to look at.
For marketing, a couple things in progress. One, we've started, I think we talked about this a little bit last month, about looking at non-social media sites to post towards. And we've also enlisted the help of our animal friends to be street barkers. If you can hear them here, Icarus is training to yell for people to come to shows. Now, but posting events to places like Baltimore.org, Baltimore Sun, Baltimore Magazine, etc. An example, we have the March Madness event set up to be visible on those sites all month. So we're going to see how that goes. We did one that was paid where you get like some promotional space for, it was $20 for the month, which was pretty reasonable. And so we'll see if that actually does anything. And if it does, we might continue doing it. Otherwise, we may just start making a habit of just doing the legwork to submit those events as free events to those sites. It's tough. Like the Baltimore.org one still has like recurring events from Big that haven't run in over a year, but they're still like the first thing you see when you search comedy. I emailed them about it and they said that they would look at it, which I took to mean, thank you for your email. We're not going to look at that. But I may follow up if I don't see a change there. As mentioned, yeah, we're working on some merch items. Genevieve's done some mock-ups for those. We're going to put some social media posts up on those to have folks vote on the kind of type of merch, like a short sleeve tee, long sleeve tee, hoodie, etc., and then the design. Get people engaged in that before it happens, and also we will look to kind of determine how much interest volume there is before we make an order. We'll likely work with Custom Ink through that. We've got a contact through Robin there. And then obviously starting to continue doing ad hoc events wherever we can, like getting the trophies out finally. I've seen people post their trophies at home, which has been a lot of fun. Kristen, you want to talk about education real quick?
Yeah. Hey, so education is going well. The workshops are going well. As you can see, we have an Akaprov intensive at the end of the month. I definitely encourage you to check that out. One thing that I think could be really helpful. So we've had like pretty good attendance on most of these, like 5, 6, 7 people, sometimes 8. The one that's done like the best was Kimalu's free dramatic workshop. If you're willing to, if you see like a post about it on like Instagram or Facebook, I think we could do to have a little bit more sharing of these events, to just get more eyeballs on them. But they're going well. They're going well. And we've had consistent workshops basically every weekend this year, which is great. And I'm working on getting people booked for next month. And we've had a lot of interest, so that's really cool. People are hearing about us through our workshops and through other things that we're doing, and they want to come work with us, which is really cool. So in terms of curriculum, we have 101 and 102 outlines, and Andy and Alexa at this very moment, probably not at this very moment, but they are working on building out the curriculum based on those outlines. We are very tentatively saying we are going to roll these out online June. So we'll have June offerings for 101 and 102. you know, there's a lot of work to do like between now and then. So there's like finishing the curriculums, testing them out, vetting them through our code of conduct and everything else. And we're also still working on getting the anti-racism and anti-bias training for all our teachers. So it's kind of a lofty goal to have all that done by June. But we're working on it, and I think it's doable. We are also talking about, along with the 101 and the 102, having so I don't know who here has been present when we talked about having like the narrative track and the game track, and then a rec track, which is gonna be mostly just sort of like skill-based targeted workshops that are gonna run like you know, like every Saturday you'll be able to, you know, get an hour on you know, initiations if you want to, or second beats, or, you know, something like that. And those are going to be that's going to be sort of more targeted for people who like want to do improv but maybe like don't care to you know, go through a whole curriculum. They just want to like maybe sharpen some skills, or maybe they're just doing this for fun and they want to take a workshop here and there. So we're likely going to roll some of those out along with you know, the 101 and the 102. Those are also going to be great for people who want to get some experience coaching and teaching, because those are going to be curriculums that are going to just be ready to go. We'll just hand you the curriculum and say, this is the workshop. So yeah, so that's where we're at with that. And yeah, I think that's it for education.
Awesome. And kind of related to that and some of the stuff that Kristen was just mentioning, we recently announced the sessions that we're doing with Holla Back. Really excited about those. There are going to be 2 of those, one in May, early May, and one in late June. The early May session is geared towards instructors. As Kristen was mentioning, we would like to have all of our Highwire instructors go through the implicit bias training. It doesn't necessarily have to be through this particular session, but we would like them to go through a session of some sort. And it's obviously convenient if they can go through the same session and then speak with the same kind of language and training background together. That's always helpful. That May session, however, we're also opening up to improv instructors from really anywhere. The timing is a little bit more US and you know, North and South America friendly than Europe and Asia and Australia and Africa, because it's 7 p.m. Eastern, but anybody's welcome. And the goal is to have people go through that implicit bias training and then work to use that training to interrogate and investigate common improv warm-ups and exercises, both to look at ways that those exercises can be delivered more intentionally to avoid implicit bias, but also to investigate which of those exercises may be useful in helping teach improv students about implicit bias and things they may not be aware of as they go through an improv curriculum. So it's an exciting partnership. We're hoping to get people from all over the world involved in that, and have had some pretty good uptake on that as well. It's still a couple of months out, and so we'll do some periodic pushing of that event to try and gain interest. It's open to up to 50 instructors, which I think is going to be really cool. And then at the end of June, more targeted to the local community, we are having a bystander intervention training also through Hollaback. That's more in preparation for the eventual return to physical spaces, which looks like it will happen at some point in some form this year, even if that's just us renting another space for a show or something like that. We want people to have gone through that training as well, so that we can all support each other in the community. In addition to those training sessions, we've made some updates to our reporting procedure and code of conduct. We're going to put some information about that out publicly later this week, related to, in particular, how we deal with the possibility of objectionable content that might occur in a set, and what we do if somebody requests a step be taken down, or just expressed a concern about any material that's appeared on the Highwire stage, whether that was expressed in the moment or expressed afterwards. Found that it wasn't clear like what would happen if that came up. So we've added some content to the code of conduct accordingly. We've also introduced kind of our process for some more detailed process around how we will manage reported incidents. So we had a reporting procedure that detailed how people could report any issues. We've added to that some details about exactly what will happen when a report occurs, what people can expect to receive when they've done that report, and how it will be handled. So just continuing to make improvements there. And then the committee is looking at some parallel curriculum materials that we'll need to meet with the education committee on, regarding kind of things like how, in addition to improv training, people can be given training around things like understanding what their identity is, understanding implicit bias. What are improv students expected to kind of learn along the way of their improv journey, so that they can continue to take on more advanced skills within improv in a responsible way. And we're also looking at defining what a part-time job description could be. We've said several times that we would ideally like our first paid position to be related to anti-racism and anti-oppression, as well as kind of general community outreach, and starting to look at what we may want to include in that process. And then related to all that, for operations, we're investigating some additional board models. We've been looking at some stuff around how to make the actual official government required board as lean as possible, and have other structures in place for kind of keeping the organization and the community accountable to the standards that we set. We'll probably go another round on that and bring some ideas related to that to the community for review. We're working on taxes, working on our normal, financial stuff, and then keeping aware of ongoing stuff related to COVID and local policies. I wrote this before Larry Hogan's announcement today, and I'm glad I wrote it the way I did. First of all, season 3 is going to be entirely online. We're not planning any in-person or physical shows as part of season 3. And then kind of reiterating some stuff we said at the very beginning of Highwire's inception. We're not going to open up anything in person without kind of national, state, and local being the key one, given Larry Hogan today, guidelines allowing for such gatherings, as well as there'll be a conversation with the community before we do any of that. So all that is to say, we're being very cautious and not rushing into any kind of Highwire sanctioned physical activities. If people want to do things on their own, that's their choice, but not something that's going to be required or set up by Highwire. Finances. This is probably the most we've spent in a month, because we paid upfront for the Hollaback training. That's the big expense from February. We are taking a kind of donation-based pay what you can model for this. So we expect to make most of that back in kind of ticket sales. But obviously, since we paid up front, you see the impact here. Great news is that donations and workshop payments are up month over month. So we're starting to see things feel a little growth there. I think obviously the donation stuff will increase further once we file for 501c3. And then the concordant instructor fees come along with those workshop payments. And so nothing too surprising here, just a little bit different the last few months because we did pay for that training up front. And then last thing here, I believe, is kind of our continued growth numbers. I forgot to bold them and make them red this time. I apologize, but they're the rightmost column as always. I see a lot of faces. I'm glad I'm sharing my screen, so that doesn't really make it onto the recording. Brian, you want to go over these?
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing that we've noticed is definitely Instagram is growing pretty fast. Kristen's doing a great job, especially with the story. We do stories more than we do posts, but it's really attracting a lot of attention. And the notifications pop on all the time of people following us, and they're theaters and performers that you recognize a lot of times. So that's really good that it's not just like not like every once in a while when you just get random followers. So it's really good that we're getting out to the improv community. YouTube views keep going up. It's been great. The Black Joy Fridays have been great. Those have been really good. The unique viewers have been very strong, and the subscriptions. It was great from February to March. Made a point several times to point it out in posts, or whenever Casey's on, she's amazing about making sure people do it, and definitely tried to point it out when I'm hosting that if you're watching, subscribe. It really helps. I think we're at 311 now. I think we got one more today, so we only need 689 more to monetize, which means then we can stop using copyrighted music because that keeps us from monetizing.
Yeah, and just generally really great overall. And especially in the last 9 days, I've seen a boost on Facebook as well from doing all those March Madness shows on Facebook, which has been great. So continuing to grow, which is good.
Yeah, that's a great point about the March Madness, because a lot of people who are performing are tagging us and socially distant when they share their show. So that's really helpful.
Yeah. Excellent. That's it. Does anybody have any thoughts, comments, or questions before we adjourn for our monthly update at Highwire Improv? Awesome. I see a lot of smiling small rectangles. Excellent. Cool. Well, thank you all so much. We will do this again the second Tuesday of April. And as always, if you have any questions about anything at all, you can reach out to us in various ways, including email, highwireimprov@gmail.com, and Facebook are probably the easiest. Instagram direct message works too. Whatever works for you. And until then, we'll see you on the various streaming platforms that we utilize.
Yeah.
Thanks
Thanks
so
for
much
coming,
being here.
everybody.
Yeah. Awesome.
See ya.
Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
See you. Thanks.
See y'all later.
Thanks, y'all.
Thanks.